Okay, guys, we're back. Sorry for that technical difficulty. We're going to go right to Adi to see if there's anything going on social media. Do we have any questions anywhere?
Yes, yes, we do.
Good.
First of all, we have a lot of greetings. Canada, South Africa, North Carolina, Mexico, Finland, Vegas, Puerto Rico, they're all saying hi.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yes. So going to Facebook, we have Charlie who's asking, does he need to eat to his micro limits or can he just eat under
Oh,
and
okay.
still lose weight?
Good question. The only thing you'd want to make sure that you get the minimum protein amount. That's the only thing that you don't want to go below. And let me give you the formula because this is a little bit complex, but your proteins, you want to go 0.36 times your body weight in pounds, and that would be the grams, but you don't want to go under that, okay, which is really about 3 ounces, okay, for an average person per meal, okay? But if you're doing like intermittent fasting and you want a meal, that changes everything. So, but yeah, you can go under, not a problem. The only thing too is if you're feeling a bit too cold or you're losing hair, that means you need to spike your food because you're not having enough. Because when you start losing your hunger, people just, really, they start hardly eating anything. Okay?
Okay.
Good. Is that a good answer?
Yes.
All right, good. Do we have another question?
Yes, we do. All right. So going to YouTube, we have Sahali, and she's asking, can you continue keto diet while you're pregnant? Or
Yeah, it's a good question. Here's the thing with that. Keto is really, the type of keto that I'm recommending is very, very healthy, and it's like nutrient dense. So absolutely. It's just that when we get into intermittent fasting, I would do 3 meals with no snacks. That's what I would do if I was pregnant. Of course, I'm not going to be pregnant. So, good. Any other questions that we have over there?
yes, we do.
Yeah.
All right. So I have Abe on Facebook, and he wants to know what's the best time to eat 1 meal a day for maximum sleep and fat burning?
Well, here's the things that are really, really important, Adi, and there's certain things that are really trivial. The time of when you eat, if you're doing intermittent fasting, doesn't really matter. You can do right before bed. It's not going to be a problem because what's really important is what you're eating and the time of fasting. Some people don't have the schedule to be able to have it, at certain times, but go with when you're like, oh, now I'm really hungry. If it's 9 o'clock, not a problem.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right.
Learn something new every day. Hey, what I want to do is there's 3 questions I'm going to ask you guys. So I'm going to ask the first question, then we'll come back, see if you guys can get this right. What nutrient, this is question number 1, what nutrient, if it becomes deficient, will you get keto fatigue? Okay, what nutrient deficiency is behind keto fatigue? Go ahead and type your answers now, and let's just see if you can get that right. All right? Good. So let's go to, Adi, let's go to Connecticut. Someone had a question about chronic. Deborah had a question. Go ahead, Deborah.
Yes. Hi, Dr. Berg.
Hi.
Hi. I'll jump right in. So I'm doing keto and intermittent fasting. I eat about 1 meal around noon. I'm not really hungry around 6, but I kind of eat something light because I'm bored kind of with the family eating and I'm just sitting there.
Yeah.
So I've been taking your 2 adrenal cortisols, 2 nutritional yeast, and 2 D3 and K2 per day for about 4 months.
Okay.
And this isn't rosacea. This is blushing, which is very debilitating. You can almost feel your body blushing as you're driving down the road. That's how bad I have it. I did go to your advanced adrenal formula, but still no results. I've been doing that for about a month. Do I just have to wait longer? Am I doing the wrong amounts? Anything you can do would be helpful.
So I have a question. What is your age?
52.
52. Okay. So are you right into the menopausal thing? Sounds like it.
I don't know because I don't have any of the telltale signs that people normally get.
Is it possible that these are connected to a hot flash?
I don't have hot flashes.
Do you feel like a flushing response, like it could be a hot flash, but without the heat, just kind of like on a every 10 minutes you get blush? Is it like that, or is it different?
No. I've had this for years,
Okay.
and no, it's doing nothing.
Okay.
Eating, reading a book, walking, doesn't matter.
Got it. Okay, so this is what I think is happening. It's probably hard for you to find the answer because it's not really widely known. It has to do with the autonomic nervous system. It's a problem with the sympathetic nervous system. So if you ever wanted to try to get more data, you can look in the area of autonomic nervous system dysfunction. You'll find, I have several books that I've looked this up. But here's what I would do. You try the nutritional route. You're not seeing the big changes. I would do a manual technique using the acupressure technique that I developed. I don't know if I have any online, but you can, it's in a little booklet, and you may even have it, I don't know, but I would do the acupressure on the adrenal points and throughout the back points, which are connected to something called the sympathetic nervous system, and work those out each day. That probably will give you more benefit than anything else because that supports the autonomic nervous system. Okay? Go ahead and try that and then let us know. Cool. Do we have that little handout there? Can I have that? All right, so let's go to Raj in North Carolina. Go ahead, Raj. You're on the air.
Thank you, Dr. Berg, for taking my call. I have a question about, I'm a liver type, and I can't seem to get a good handle on getting my inflammation down on the liver. I'm diabetic as well. And I want to thank you for the chapter 7, about the types of the liver type. I have almost 80% of the symptoms. And so what I've done is lately, there was a test online, which is PAI-1 genotype that tells you if you're stage 1, stage 2, or stage 3 insulin resistance. And I think it does that by doing 80-10 measurement, and I'm stage 2, along with proinsulin and insulin. So is there some kind of a thing where I can kind of move to maybe stage 1 from stage 2 instead of rolling back to stage 3?
Good question.
I'm taking a lot of detox thing, and it helps, but only temporarily.
Yeah. Let me explain what you need to do, okay? Because when you have insulin resistance, it definitely affects the liver. Because now what happens is your liver is not going to release the glycogen, the glucose from the glycogen. It's not going to store glycogen that well. It's usually fatty. If you're at an ultrasound, you'll find this out. Excuse me, there's a lot of things you can do to improve this situation. And I hope right now you're doing keto correctly and intermittent fasting, because both of those will, over time, I think, restructure and help build up your liver back to where it should be and improve insulin resistance. It's going to take time. And this is what people don't realize. The liver is a pretty large organ, and it takes at least a good 2 to 3 years to actually heal. It's not a short-term thing. So, and you don't heal it necessarily with a detox. You have to heal it with just regular healthy foods over a period of time. And intermittent fasting will greatly help that. And you're going to find that the liver function will do better and better and better and better and better. So I would bite the bullet, get the book and learn how to do it correctly. So you're the new book, and not try to just do it halfway. Do it fully 100%. Because I think that's one of the things that my pet peeves is like people that don't really understand it, and they just heard about it. And they're like, well, this is what you do, and you start doing it incorrectly, and then it doesn't work. And they go, well, let me go back to Weight Watchers or some other program. Or I'm like, obviously you did not understand it. And so both of my small book and the big book, before we even get to the eating part, I actually explain how to do it and why it works. That's what you need to understand fully. So that's what I would do, and I think that would help you, Raj, tremendously. And thanks for your call. Hey guys, listen, there's a cool download. If you don't know about it, if you haven't done this, I have this chart that explains all of the nutrients that our bodies require and the foods that will give you those nutrients in the right amounts. It's a free download. If you are interested, click down below and you can download this. Keep it as a reference. You can keep it on in your computer if you need it. But in my spare time, I just kind of came up with this so you can see the foods that are highest in that nutrient, and that way you can prevent nutritional deficiencies. Because it's not just about losing weight; it's about getting healthy, which requires nutrients from actual food, not just supplements. Okay? All right, so now, Adi, let's see what kind of answers we got.
I think you would need to ask that question again because of the technical
Oh,
difficulties.
right, okay.
So let's go ahead and ask
Let
them.
me ask again, okay?
Okay.
Guys, see if you can get this, answer me this, okay? What nutrient deficiency will show up when you have keto fatigue? Okay, what's behind keto fatigue? What nutrient deficiency? Go ahead and answer that. And as you're doing that, I'm going to go right to Katrina from South Carolina. You go ahead.
Hello, Dr. Berg.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Thank you so much for your videos. I came across your live video on YouTube at a moment of total desperation. I've been battling debilitating health conditions since 2010. I'm a 44-year-old woman, 120 pounds, had a partial hysterectomy in 2016, and then 2 months ago was diagnosed with RSD, which they told me was an incurable pain disease in both my arms. So I pretty much have lost the use of both my arms. 4 years ago, I was also told that I had IBS, SIBO, and leaky gut, so I stopped dairy, gluten, processed foods, sugar, soy, legumes, nuts, and even raw vegetables, and started intermittent fasting with bulletproof coffee, replacing breakfast. But, Dr. Berg, I've still continued having night sweats, accelerated heartbeat, insomnia, extreme food sensitivity, and GI discomfort. But when I came across your videos, I began clean intermittent fasting with only water and black decaf coffee, and that's been 45 days and progressed to a 24 protocol, fasting 20 hours and eating 4 hours. But even after that and being very disciplined with a keto diet during my feeding window, the only time I ever feel okay is during the about 16 to 20 hour of my fast. As soon as I break my fast, immediately I feel severe bloating, even after adding apple cider vinegar, sauerkraut, raw ginger to my diet. But I feel like I'm going to blow up as soon as I eat anything, even if it's just lightly steamed vegetables like kale and spinach with coconut oil. So I have now been on a 60-hour fast. I haven't eaten anything for the past 60 hours except for black coffee, green tea, apple cider vinegar with pink Himalayan salt, and then yesterday, last night, I had a little bit of homemade broth. So I'm just desperate, and I'm scared to eat. I don't know how long is it safe for me to continue fasting. I have accelerated heartbeat and don't know when to resume eating and when I do what I can eat, since I'm sensitive to everything, including vegetables, and you suggest 7 to 10 cups of vegetables daily.
So other than those symptoms, how are you doing? No, I'm just kidding. Here's the question I have. Must have been a point you were doing well. Wasn't there a point when you were doing well at some age, like everything was fine? What year was that, or what age were you?
I'm 44. It must have been about 15 years ago. I have 4 kids.
Okay, 15 years
and
ago.
I actually was extremely strong, athletic, ran 10 kilometers a day. So the picture of health. That's
so about 30 years old, right? About 29, 30 years old, you're great, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, things started going downhill, right?
Yes.
Okay. What happened just before that?
Well, I've had extreme stress. I lived in Brazil where I was almost killed several times. Extreme violence. I also lost my son. Due to that extreme violence.
Got it. Was there any type of?
That was in 2016.
You were out of the country?
Yes.
Okay. So there's a couple things because I have to move on, but I want to give you a couple of tips, okay? Because this is a very complex. These cases, when you have this many problems and you're doing healthy foods, there's always something that triggered this. And your body obviously you had some major stress. There's always some stress behind things that are just shutting down the adrenals. So a couple things that I would do to undo that stress is I recommend my acupressure on the adrenal points and the different points. I would hardcore do acupressure to extract as much stress as humanly possible. The other thing that you can do, because if you're in another country, you could have also picked up some microbe that's really underneath everything, especially if there's gut problems. So I would, probably the safest bet is to do the grapefruit seed extract, not the oregano oil, because you might detox. Grapefruit seed extract, and start putting that in the body, okay, just to kill off whatever's in the background that's messing everything up in your gut. Then the last thing is, though, I like the fact that you're doing intermittent fasting, which is a powerful tool, but now we're going to have to deal with the nutrients. In your case, you're 120 pounds. You're going to have to do probably green. I would do green juice. Like I would take vegetables and juice it. And this is the only exception. I wouldn't recommend it typically, but you just need to do some seriously concentrated nutrition. Maybe the wheatgrass juice powder I have, but you need to start drinking a lot of phytonutrients and then somehow get maybe bone broth, some type of protein source, so you're at least getting the protein and then the healthy fats. And I know you're allergic to vegetables, so maybe you could just drink your greens or do the wheatgrass juice powder. That's what I'd recommend right now, because and pull the stress out. Okay, that's my quick answer. I hope that gave you some tips. All right, now let's go right to Adi. What do we got? What do we have for the answers on this?
All right, so we have multiple people saying vitamin B1, vitamin B5, potassium, magnesium, sodium, and electrolytes.
Okay, well, I tell you what. Do we have a drum roll, please? And the answer is vitamin B5. Okay, so some of you are correct. So vitamin B5 is interesting because it's kind of like a vitamin that you get from all the foods, like it's easy to get, but a lot of people are deficient primarily because their gut. Either they have a gut imbalance, and a lot of times you need vitamin D3 for the gut to work, and that could be one of the reasons, especially in the winter if you have more of a problem with fatigue. But here's the thing. B5 is in nutritional yeast, so that's why we recommend it. But there's other vitamins are involved too, but B5 has to do with the metabolism of fats, even more than carbohydrates and protein. So since you're switching to more of a keto diet, you're going to need more B5 to make this work. So if you add more B5 in there, the fatigue should go right away, and I recommend nutritional yeast from that. Okay, does that sound like a plan? Yes. Okay, so do we have any questions in social media?
We do. So I have Tawana on YouTube asking, can teens do keto?
Can teens? No, only if you're 21 years old or older can you do keto, and you can't be over 55. So you have a certain range. If you're too old, forget it. If you're too young, forget it. Okay, any other questions? No.
Yes.
No, anyone could do it. Anyone, especially teens. Oh my gosh, if I can go back in time and redo it, I would have done this because I was just doing all the wrong things. And every single tooth, I had cavities in every single part of my bone structure. So yes, teens can do it, and they should do it, and it makes a lot of those keto bombs so they can enjoy the desserts. Okay, good.
Alrighty.
And any other questions over there?
Yes, I have Elaine on Facebook, and she's asking, can electrolyte and potassium keep you awake at night?
No, it's supposed to put you to sleep because it's going to reduce your heart rate. And now it is involved in energy. So if it's keeping you awake, maybe take it in the morning. But typically it should calm you down and help relax you, in theory. But, some people, they have the opposite effect. Okay, so let's go, Adi, let's go right to Vitalia. She's been waiting for 1 hour. Go ahead. You're from Lake Moses, Washington.
Hello, yeah, I'm from Moses Lake. I have a question. So, my thyroid, it's PSA's 3rd gen, that's what it says on my book. It's 4.47, and what do you think of taking Nature's? I guess I was prescribed by a naturopath to take Nature's Soy. What do you think of taking that?
You mean Nature, there's the Nature Thyroid, and also you're saying Nature's Soy?
It's called Nature's Thyroid. I'm looking at my...
Thyroid, right? Nature
okay.
Thyroid.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because you had me nervous there if you're taking soy. You don't want to take soy if you have a thyroid. I like the natural type of thyroid support. So I think that's great. But again, check with your doctor because I'm not telling you to do this. I don't have your history, but I definitely like that better than Synthroid for sure. Okay? Cool. Thanks for calling. Hey, let's go to Kate from New York. Go ahead. You had a question.
Hi, Dr. Berg.
Hi.
I have a question about, well, basically, I know that you're a fan of xylitol for sweetener for keto, but I have this stuff, and it's called Pure, and it's an organic erythritol stevia mix. And there's a lot of conflicting information about whether or not that will break a fast, because I'm putting it in my iced lemon water, I'm putting it in my black coffee while I'm fasting. Is that going to break my fast?
Good. It really depends on how much. If you're doing, like, let's say, for example, you're doing half a teaspoon, you may find it may take you slightly out, but you'll go right back in. It's not going to be a big thing because you're not taking sugar. Now, the glycemic index of erythritol is like 0, but on xylitol, it's like 30. It's still really, really low. So it may create a temporary little pause, but it's really nothing significant. So I would not worry about it, but it sounds like you have a pretty good sweetener there. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm putting it in my water all day long while I'm fasting.
Oh,
so maybe
I
I
got
should cut
it.
down or maybe switch
I
to
got it.
xylitol.
You know what? You should, or even better yet, stevia. Do you like carbonated water?
No.
Okay. Well, have you tried the liquid stevia, the different flavors that they have without the sugar? Or maltodextrin they add?
No, I haven't. No.
Oh, gosh. Okay, go online and get, or the health food store, and get the liquid stevias. They come in different flavors. I like root beer. I like lemon. They have all different flavors. You will love that. Put a couple drops. You can do that all day long. It's a way better idea.
Great. And if I do switch to xylitol, can I use it all day without worrying about that?
Yeah. The only problem with xylitol, with some people, they get little digestive stuff going on. But if you don't, you're not going to have a problem.
Great.
Yep. Okay. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, Adi, let's go to Randy, and then we'll go to your questions.
Okay.
Randy, you're from Houston. You had a question. Go ahead.
Yes. Let me take you off speaker. 55 years old, type 2 diabetic. I take metformin. Been on keto now for about 2 months. Love the results. Amazing results. My question is when I have dawn phenomenon, and in the morning I'll wake up. Well, I'll go to bed at night. It'll be about 1:10. I wake up in the morning, 20-point rise. But on the days that I'm fasting, my glucose continues to rise for 16, 17, 18 hours, and is actually the highest it normally gets at the end of my fast.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do? And I think this takes me out of keto. What can I do?
What's happening? You're getting a compensation with your adrenals or the liver. I don't know which one, because what happens, as your blood sugars go down, the adrenals kick in there and they overreact. So you may be what's called sympathetic dominant, overactive adrenal, which then, because cortisol counters insulin. So what's happening is, like, insulin's coming down, it's trying to come down, but what happens when the blood sugars come down too, especially if you're on metformin, driving it down, the adrenals are going to counter that and start releasing sugars from the muscle. So, and then that'll spike the glucose. I think you're in the right direction. What you may want to do is try to get some alternative type herbal things that mimic metformin. And so the need for metformin goes less and less and less and less and less with the help of your doc. I'm not telling you to come off of it. And then
I know.
And then the other thing that you can do is, put some attention on focusing on the adrenal. Support the adrenal with either nutrition or acupressure. And then the last thing, because I don't know if it's the adrenal or the liver with you, because I would have to do a little history. But if it's the liver, then you would want to do something like milk thistle or dandelion leaf type remedies for the liver, and that would actually help support it. So you're going to find you'll hit the jackpot with either supporting the liver or the adrenal, and I think that will solve most of your problem.
Well, appreciate it.
Okay, thanks, Randy. All right, so what do we have on social media? Do we have any questions? Some good questions?
Yes.
Easy?
Yeah, yes. They're actually hard.
Okay, good.
All right. So I have Patricia on Facebook, and she's asking, does xylitol break your fast?
Well, I think someone just asked that, and if you take small amounts, it's going to maybe create a little tiny pause, but it's not going to be a big deal because it's not sugar. But it does have about a 30 on a glycemic index, so it will spike it just a little bit, but it's not enough for the majority of person. Now, if you take a lot of it, sure. But if you're just doing like half a teaspoon, I would not worry about it. Okay. But, you know, there's other people will say, well, what if someone's really, really insulin resistant? Okay, well then don't do it, you know. Don't do anything that might spike it, so do erythritol. Okay. So that's what I would recommend. Okay, so you have another question?
Yes, I have Lee on YouTube and is asking, I guess she's losing hair and she's taken zinc and biotin for 2 weeks, but still no improvements. What would you recommend?
Okay, so here's what I would do. She's doing keto?
No, she didn't specify.
Yeah, so I would, you know, when you do keto and intermittent fasting, the hair should come back. But let's say, for example, she is doing keto. Okay. And the hair is going, she's losing hair. What that means that it needs to increase the calories overall of nutrients and making sure that she beefs up either the protein, which is typically the thing, because when you do not enough protein, then you're going to start noticing hair loss. Okay. So that's the biggest thing I would focus on right now. And by the way, guys, if you haven't downloaded this, it's really cool. There's a link down below. This will give you all the nutrient requirements that will that our body needs and the foods that match those requirements. So it's a good reference, so check it out. And then Adi, yes. I want to ask the next question, okay? So the next question is this. Out of all of the deficiencies in our body that can occur, what category of nutrients appears to be the most deficient in most people on the planet? Okay. That's kind of a broad question, but we want to know what is the top nutritional deficiencies, or let's just talk about the category of nutrients that shows up most to the people of being deficient. See if you guys can get that right. We'll come right back to you after I take another question here from Leah from Chicago. You had a question. Go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Berg.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thanks for taking my call. You know, I am doing intermittent fasting and low to moderate carb. I have prolonged menstruation cycle with a lot of spotting, so they did an ultrasound and they found endometric polyp, and I also have androgenic alopecia. I do take trace mineral, nutritional yeast, your wheatgrass powder, sea kelp, and your hair formula. So I want to know, what can I do to get rid of the polyp and also to improve my hair growth? I was thinking of maybe DIM or estrogen balance can help me. And another question I have is for myself and my son. We both have stigmatism and eyeglasses. What can we do to improve our eyesight or to make sure it doesn't get worse? You know, the number doesn't keep on increasing, or stigmatism doesn't get bad and bad.
Okay, good. All right, so now here's what's happening when you have polyps. Believe it or not, that can come from either high estrogen or high insulin, one of the two. But the fact that you have alopecia, and actually I think you said androgen problems like facial hair, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I'm getting it wrong, but that's a high level of estrogen. Okay, I'm sorry, insulin. That's insulin. That's high insulin. That's insulin resistance. And then the other question about the eyesight, that's also high insulin. So, which is probably coming from insulin resistance. So I would bet that your problem is insulin resistance, especially if it's starting to affect the vision. There are so many parts of the eye that are affected with blood sugars. It's crazy. Like, for example, cataracts, the retina, the macula, the lens, the accommodation reflex with just vision. Even when it drops down with low blood sugar, you start having problems with blurred vision. So to help the eyes, you want to support insulin resistance by getting the keto and intermittent fasting in there totally 100%. with you, with the vision, you want to add maybe some more kale to the diet with, and put a little coconut oil if you do a kale shake, or put it on your salad dressing because you want to actually extract some of the carotenoids from that kale so the eye can actually heal and improve. But I think your best bet too is to take something called benfotiamine. Benfotiamine. Look it up, get it. It's a type of B vitamin that protects the tissues from the destruction of high insulin or high blood sugars. And that will probably help the polyps and also any other side effects that are occurring from the high sugar as you start correcting the foundational problems of what's really behind it. Okay? All right, so Adi.
Yes.
What do we got? What kind of answers do we got here?
All right, so we have lots of people saying minerals, vitamin D, D3, potassium, electrolyte, B12, B1.
Wow. What do you think? What do you think the answer is? Since
Do I get a drum roll?
Yes. Do we get a drum roll, please? What do you think, Adi? Okay, so you're
a
little cold.
Oh no.
Okay, but it's definitely in the area of nutrition.
Okay.
So here's the answer. It's trace minerals.
Oh, so close.
Trace minerals. Why? Because the soils. Unless you live next to a volcano, maybe in Hawaii, or you're eating food from the fertile soil, chances are you're probably not getting the trace minerals, actually when you buy food from the sea, you're going to get trace minerals, or grown on soils close, like 100 miles close to the ocean, you're probably going to get trace minerals. But the majority of the population doesn't get the trace minerals. And those are small minerals needed in, well, just not small minerals. They're minerals needed in smaller amounts, like zinc, selenium, iodine. Those are the things that are missing in our diet. Now, when you're deficient in trace minerals, you can't manufacture proteins as well as you should. So by taking trace minerals, you see better hair, nails, muscle, tissue, collagen is better. So because they activate the proteins in the body. I'm going to recommend getting a high quality trace minerals. Of course, I'm a little biased because the trace mineral that I have is plant-based, so it goes in like a rocket ship. It's like 15,000 times smaller than regular minerals, and it's liquid, and it's 70 million years old.
Oh.
Yeah, it's old. So guess what the expiration date is?
What?
There is no expiration date because it lasts forever. But it's amazing because it's plant-based, so you don't have to worry about pesticides because it's prehistoric vegetation. And so you would take one dropper full, and you're not going to necessarily feel energy from taking it. You're going to just get better protein structure, so tendon, ligament, disc, hair, nails. Okay. Wow. And also periodically in these shows, I give people a discount on this. If you do want a discount on this, 10%, you can go to my site today and type in the code, the secret code.
What is it?
It's my first name, but you have to know my first name to get it.
Okay.
And you'll get 10% off.
All right.
You can just tell them.
What is your first name?
Eric.
Oh.
Yeah, E-R-I-C. Okay, I just want to let you know. She's been working with me for at least a couple weeks. So if you type in the code Eric, E-R-I-C, now with a K, you'll get 10% off.
Awesome.
So check it out. See if it's a cool product. I'm biased because I'm always looking at the quality of where you get it. Versus if you take like sea salt, you only absorb a very small amount. Compared to this, you absorb 100%. Okay?
Good to know.
All right, let's go right to Christina. She's from New York. And go ahead. You are on the line, Christina.
Hi. So I was curious that a lot of your products work for people that were older, or a lot of older people are coming to you about this. Do you think I have an autoimmune disease? I have lupus, and I was doing a lot of research, and I looked at your research, and I was like, well, this product works for someone young like me. I'm 22, and I have lupus. I was diagnosed with lupus when I was 18 years old. I do have a bloating issue. I've been told many times to change my diet now while I'm young, and I looked a lot into your products, and I was wondering, would it work for me?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, my products do not work for old people. They only for young people. So you're in luck. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. That was my dry sense humor. No, they work for anyone because they're not age specific. But here's someone gave you some good advice. You want to definitely change your diet while you're young, and definitely continue to exercise as in your 20s and 30s. Don't omit that, because so many people, they have this like between the 20s and 30s and 40s, they don't work out, and then they end up like in really bad shape, and then they try to get back in shape, which takes forever. So keep in your nutrition before you have the problems, not after. As far as autoimmune disease, that usually is an adrenal issue. So you definitely need to support that. And couple little secrets that we want to talk about with autoimmune is that there usually is a serious vitamin D deficiency. There's some research now that has a lot to do, and I'm not going to get too technical, but there's a receptor for vitamin D that blocks the absorption of vitamin D, and that really affects the immune system. And there's a certain medication, a high blood pressure medication, that mimics the receptor for vitamin D, which I'm not going to recommend. I'm not going to even tell you because I don't want you to do it. But there's something else that you can do to also improve that absorption of vitamin D to then improve the autoimmune, and that would be purified bile salts. That is kind of like a little secret that I recommend, because that'll actually really help you pull in that vitamin D, support the immune system. And I think people don't consume enough vitamin D because it's part of the fat-soluble vitamin family, and if you're stressed, you're not going to absorb it. And so that would be something I would recommend, Christina, is to start beefing up vitamin D and the other fat-soluble vitamins, which you can get from cod liver oil, wild-caught fish, which, I kind of rotate. I go into different phases. Right now, I'm into the salmon phase where I'm just consuming salmon every single day with the wild-caught, and then I might switch to something else. But never get the farm-fed fish. And I'm going to do a video on that, but it's pretty bad. But thanks for your call. Okay, so now we're going to go to Avi for some additional questions. And by the way, since we had that technical difficulty, we're going to go a little longer today. So, you can still call in. We'll still take your questions. Go ahead.
All right, so Bernita on Facebook is asking, what causes leg cramps?
Bernita?
Yeah, Bernita.
If I knew that, would I be sitting here right now? No. Now, that's going to be either potassium, most likely, or magnesium. And if you're getting leg cramps, electrolyte powder works really good on that, but you need to also beef up your vegetables and have, no pun intended, we want to add more minerals. If that doesn't work, then you want to add a little calcium, magnesium, and that should make it go completely away. But I would start with potassium. Okay?
All right.
Do you like that answer?
Yes, I do.
Good. All right. Do we have another question?
Yes. I have Diana on YouTube, and she's saying she's allergic to yeast. What can she take instead of the nutritional yeast?
So, yeah, that's too bad. But what you could do is you can do sunflower seeds.
Okay.
Raw sunflower seeds would give you some B vitamins, and yeah, that would be the alternative solution. And maybe even get a natural non-yeast-based vitamin B. Good luck. Try to find one. I think they're out there, but they're a little pricey, but try that too.
Okay.
Good. And then do you have another question?
Yes. So Rose on Facebook is asking, so there's a doctor that is warning people not to do keto, saying it damages kidney and dries out the liver. What is your intake on that?
Well, if a doctor says it, then it must be true. And then we almost need to give up keto despite all the great results and go back to carbohydrates and maybe the food pyramid,
Okay.
maybe the DASH diet. That's going to help us because that's going to really help your kidney. I'm being a little sarcastic. It's basically, you're going to hear viewpoints from just about everyone online and by doctors, but, here's the thing. I actually would love to interview someone that would tell me that. I would like to know, well, what diet should we be on? Because what's causing the kidney failure right now is high insulin and high sugar. And what happens is the diabetes, for example, and even prediabetes affects the vision, the kidney, the liver, and the nerves and the brain. So keto, doing it healthily, is totally superior as far as a fuel source and supportive to the kidney and all those other tissues. In fact, you can even regrow brain cells. Oh. And who couldn't do with some more brain cells nowadays with intermittent fasting and keto? So it supports the brain function. I think typically it comes down to this person doesn't even understand keto in the first place. So the first thing that you want to ask anyone who says, oh, it's dangerous to the kidney, is just ask them this one question, Adi.
Okay.
What is keto? What's your definition of keto? What type of diet do you think keto is? And see what they say. You're going to be shocked to find out they don't have a clue. They might say, well, you're going to eat a lot of fat. Mm-hmm. Oh, really? That's the diet? Oh, so you obviously don't know what it is. So to get in keto, you must lower the carbs.
Yeah.
And then ask them what's the function of insulin, and they won't know. So I like to have fun with these people and really kind of quiz them. It's just, I almost have to withhold myself of the laughter because it's such a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go to our site. Now, Adi takes care of all the success stories, the featured success stories. Do we have a lot of success stories?
Yes, we do.
Like massive, they're rolling in by the hundreds,
yeah.
and we're trying to keep up. And these are people that are winning on this. So for someone to say it's dangerous, I'm like, really? Then why is it creating all this amazing results?
Yeah.
Dr. I think his name is Fong, he's a kidney doctor who's recommending keto and intermittent fasting. I mean, he's actually reversing type 2 diabetes and helping a lot of his clients not need kidney dialysis. So maybe this doctor needs to talk to that doctor.
Maybe.
Okay, good. Now we're going to go to Barbara from Virginia, Fairfax. Go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Oz.
Hi.
Thank you so much for doing these questions for us.
Sure.
I have a pretty active 72-year-old mother, exercising, dancing most of her life. She has a fairly healthy eating habit, but she eats very little meat. In 2010 to 2012, she started experiencing some numbness on the bottom of her feet, which eventually moved up to her knees and was diagnosed as peripheral neuropathy. She does not have diabetes. She also noticed abnormal red and white blood cells on her school lab reports that they did, and went through all this testing for cancer and all this stuff. She eventually had an MRI, which diagnosed her with neuro-Lyme disease, and she has been through numerous treatments that has not eliminated the Lyme, such as antibiotics, 6 weeks of IV Rocephin. She also has deep pain inside of her legs, but she also has muscle cramping all over her body, in her hands, everywhere. When it happens at night, she says magnesium is the only thing that will stop it. She has been on numerous supplements, so if she was magnesium deficient, I think it would have been resolved. But she also had a TSH of 48. They treated that. And she has 5 messed up discs in her lower back, but they're saying that has nothing to do with the pain that she's having and the numbness.
Got it. Okay.
And so she is given up on life, and I'd like to help her with the neuropathy and the pain.
Yeah. Let me tell you what I would recommend. Yeah, let me tell you what I would recommend, okay? So this is a really good point, because if someone has peripheral neuropathy, and they say, well, she's not a diabetic, we checked her blood sugars, it's normal. Right. But I will guarantee they have not checked the insulin levels. High insulin comes well before high sugar. So I consider that's pre-diabetes. You can have high insulin and normal blood sugar, but you have all the complications, and one being destruction of the endings of the nerves, okay? So high insulin creates very similar symptoms to high sugar. Yet you can have normal blood sugars, even after consuming glucose, and have that glucose tolerance test be normal. You can still have high insulin, and that's what's causing the peripheral neuropathy. So what we need to do with her is put her on something called benfotiamine. benfotiamine protects the nerves from destruction, because what the high insulin is doing is destroying the microvascular system to the nerves and causing the nerves to be very irritated. And it also will create a whole range of other symptoms too in the circulation in the arteries, the vessels. So she could have like a circulation problem and a neurological problem at the same time because she's getting the same destruction. But it's interesting, if you have enough B vitamins, especially B1, and that's what benfotiamine is, but it's a version that is way deeper and more powerful. If you have enough B1, you will not nearly experience the side effects from high insulin and high glucose. So the B vitamins seem to protect you from the damage, and they also can reverse the damage. So I would put your mom on benfotiamine, and I would also put her on D3, a lot of it, and the K2, because usually if you get night pain at night, it's a D3 deficiency. So that's what I would recommend. All right, good question on that. And so someone's asking, what happened to Karen? Did I leave her for a younger woman? No, I did not leave her for a younger woman. And she's just a little busy lately. So yeah. And by the way, they want me to show this sheet again, this little sheet right here. This is the download, guys. If you don't have this download, check it out. It might be helpful because it'll allow you to quickly have a reference point to see what nutrients that you really need to focus on. Because as you look over here, these are all the foods that have the nutrients that are high in this nutrient, and it tells you the amounts. Just read through this and you're going to be shocked to find out how much certain foods that you need to fulfill the deficiencies so you don't become deficient. Not fulfill the deficiencies, fulfill the nutrients so you prevent deficiencies. All right? It's a great read, so check it out, and then you can use it as a reference. All right, let's go to social media.
Okay. All right, so we have Sarah on YouTube, and she's asking, what's the best way to supplement adrenal glands during pregnancy, and if she can take the adrenal cortisol relief? Yeah, I changed the name to the cortisol relief. It's called adrenal and cortisol support. And yes, you can totally take that. It's gonna help you a lot and support healthy adrenals. The only one you won't want to take is the stronger version, which is the adrenal support advanced formula. Like that's the one you don't want to take. That's mainly for people that are not pregnant that have a lot of chronic inflammation. But the other thing is, I think really important for you is the nutritional yeast tablets I have, because that's really good for the adrenals, big time. You'll be happy if you do that. And plus, if you're pregnant, it'll actually support the baby, the growing baby. And since we're on the topic, Adi, yes.
If you're pregnant or you're breastfeeding, there's a couple foods that you really need to focus on.
Okay.
And that would be, of course, the trace minerals are a given, but definitely the fat-soluble vitamins. Fat-soluble vitamins like cod liver oil, grass-fed dairy products like cheese. That's the big one. The cheese, sheep cheese from on a mountaintop in either Italy, Switzerland, or France.
Oh.
So if you go there,
get
the cheese and start eating it, it'll help you. Also, grass-fed beef is really good, but and the fish, the wild-caught fish, all these are really important. Butter, the fats, because that is going to activate the minerals to prevent your children from having dental problems, braces, and dental malformations, because you don't want to do reconstructive surgery on your kid. And even flat feet, scoliosis, that's a mineral deficiency that is passed on from the mother to the child.
Wow.
Did you know that?
I did not.
Okay, you learn something new every day.
Yes.
So here's another question that we're going to ask people. What is worse? Okay, what's worse? High insulin or high blood glucose levels? Okay, which one's worse? See if they can answer this one correct.
Okay.
They didn't do good with the last one. Let's see if they do good with this one.
I'll give them the answer. No, I'm kidding.
No, don't tell them. Okay, so let's see here. Someone had another question. Your wheatgrass from near the Salt Lake. Yeah, the wheatgrass we have is grown on really awesome ancient seabed, so it has all the trace minerals. I mean, it's like really high quality stuff. I've been to the farm. It's in Utah. They have a lot of great minerals there. I mean, you're not going to get any deficiencies. It's very superior. Someone had another question, night sweats and hypoglycemia. Well, think about this. If the blood sugars go down, and your adrenals are going to work extra hard to kick those back in, and that can actually put some stress and create night sweats for sure. So in which case, an estrogen balancing formula wouldn't help. You would need to support the adrenals, and this is where I would recommend the adrenal support advanced formula. That'll probably just completely handle the night sweats right there and then. Okay? I don't know if you can hear this in the background. We, in our facility, we have people that can actually have an office or their home, and they have dogs. So hear the dogs in the background here. I want to go to Susan from Louisiana. Go ahead. You had a question.
Yes, sir. I was wondering, I do the keto strips. I've had a lot of health issues. Thank God through your program, my blood work, everything is good. But the keto strips never read positive, ever. And I'm losing weight, losing inches, and I was wondering why the keto strips never read positive. Is it because of I'm on metoprolol and Eliquis? Those are requirements, they say.
Got it.
I am on your gallbladder.
Mm-hmm.
I am on your wheatgrass. I'm on your electrolyte. I'm on your adrenal cortisol.
Good.
The D3 I'm doing.
Awesome. Two questions.
And but I mean, I'm healthy, but I'm wondering why is this never reading positive?
Right. Two questions. What part of Louisiana are you from?
Slidell.
Okay. And
the southeast part, right where Katrina hit.
Oh, okay, wow. And then the other question is, these medications, what specifically are they for related to your heart? Are they for blood pressure? Are they for arrhythmias? Are they for blood thinners? What are they for?
One is for a blood thinner because I had non-Hodgkin lymphoma disease, and the chemotherapy affected my heart, which led to open heart surgery. My immune system was compromised. They had to remove my sternum because it would not heal. And then because of medications and such, there was a complication, and I had an ileostomy for 9 months, which they reversed. The metoprolol was for the AFib, and the Eliquis is for blood thinner.
Okay.
They did have me on lisinopril, but I monitor my blood pressure, and it's like 100/70 when I went to the doctor and 120/80 here at home. I'm not taking a blood pressure pill when it's that low because it will take it too low.
Exactly. Okay, so Susan, here's a couple things. There's a chance that the medication could be altering the ketones, but you know what? It's working. You're shrinking. So you obviously are burning fat. Okay, that's cool. If you weren't on the medication, I would tell you this, and this is another possibility of why the ketones aren't showing up. Some bodies basically are using up all the ketones. Now, the big question is, what is a ketone? It's an alternative fuel for the body. The body can run on glucose or ketones. So in the process of running your body on ketones, if you're using these efficiently and you're burning them up, guess what? They're not going to show up in the urine. So that could be a reason why you're not showing up. But you know, the bottom line is it working? Yes, apparently it is. The other thing is, if you have atrial fib, I would start to remineralize your body, like start taking electrolyte powder, taking a lot of potassium, and just keep doing that over a period of time, because over time, that's really what's needed to support the pacemaker of the heart, to keep the rhythm there really in. So that's something that, you know, people will, I took a blood test, it's normal. Yeah, but 98% of all the potassium is inside the cell. And they didn't check that, they checked outside the cell. So unless they do an intracellular calcium test, they're not going to pick up that potassium deficiency. But very good question. So I think it's working. Ride the wave, keep going. Thanks, Susan. All right, so we're going to go right to Adi for another question.
All right, so about, well, The question you asked.
Yes, can we get an answer to that?
Yes. Drum roll. No, okay.
Well, let me give them the correct, okay.
Well.
Let's do this out of order.
All right, so 90% are saying high insulin.
Wow, that's amazing. These guys are sharp. That's correct. You guys are correct. Because a lot of times people say, well, I thought blood sugars were worse than high insulin. Well, high insulin is a little bit more damaging than high insulin. And you can, when you have high insulin, which always comes first, by the way, and then comes the blood sugar thing. So, but the doctors don't test it. If they were to test it, they would find it's high, and especially high after foods. And I'm basing this off of an amazing book called Diabetes and You. Okay, you should get it. It's a Kindle book. It's fascinating. I love that book, but from an MD who actually had over 14,000 essays, insulin essays, that he started evaluating people, and he found this huge correlation that a good majority of the population had high insulin, and they had normal blood sugars. Wow. So what happens is this. When you have insulin resistance, which happens after high insulin, because the body's like trying to protect you against the high insulin, your body starts making more insulin. So the effects of high insulin mainly are the arteries, destroying the arteries of the heart, of the eye, and the nerve. So that it just destroys that, and it causes dementia, it leads to cancer, and the list goes on and on and on and on. But also you're going to get a lot of problems from high sugar as well. But if you have high sugar and somewhat okay insulin, you'll have less side effects. So the problem with high insulin, though, it can cause hypoglycemia and a whole set of other symptoms with low blood sugar. Or it could eventually cause high blood sugar, too, with a whole bunch of other different symptoms. So it's a little complex. But people say, well, I'm a diabetic type 2, and I don't produce insulin, so therefore I'm fine. Oh, really? You're getting injected with insulin. You're spiking your insulin. So people with diabetes type 1 also have high insulin from taking the insulin. So I always recommend that it's best to get in a situation where you need the least amount of insulin possible. And the only way you're going to do that is by changing the diet, going on a keto, low carb, and stop eating so frequently. Very simple. And that's the program I recommend, and the need for insulin will go down, and then you may need to take insulin the rest of your life if you're diabetic, but at least you won't have to take the severe amounts, which creates all the problems. So anyway, don't get me started on that.
Okay.
Okay, so let's go right to social media and see if there's any other questions that people have.
Okay, so on YouTube we have Jin, and he's asking about his mother who is in menopause. Can she do intermittent fasting?
Yes. Yeah. You need to definitely do it if you're menopause, because that's when things start breaking down. Okay. Because now the adrenals start working harder, and you get a whole cascade of issues. It's like everything is fine until you went through menopause. Menopause, right? That's what they call it. So yeah, definitely do keto, and you'll notice amazing results. And here's the thing. If you're going to do keto, learn how to do it correctly. Thus the book. If you're going to do keto, don't do it halfway, because it won't work. Always add keto with intermittent fasting, because they work hand in hand. Some people that are in the athletics disagree, and they say, well, you're going to lose your performance. Well, that's just because you've been running your body on sugar and you're so insulin resistant, you need those carbs. But your body can run very efficiently on ketones, even better than glucose, because you get more than double the energy from a ketone. It's a cleaner fuel, less side effects, and when you're burning fat, you actually have a lot more energy for the muscles. So there's a lot of benefits for them. And I think the biggest benefit, Adi, is autophagy. You know what that is?
I don't.
Okay. Autophagy is a condition where your body is recycling its old, damaged, junky protein parts. Okay. And when you do that, you can recycle them and get younger, and your body starts remodeling. Just like your kitchen, you can actually have a new kitchen now in your cells. Oh, wow. So it's awesome, but to do that, you have to do intermittent fasting for at least 18 hours. Okay, then you can eat and have a window of eating from, let's see, 18 subtract 24 is like what? Is that 6? Yeah, 6-hour eating window. Listen, guys, thank you for listening in. I appreciate your attention. I will see you next week. Stay tuned for a lot more videos coming up next week, and download this thing. It's the link down below. All right? Have a great weekend.